Salute to you all. The brave never fall. The term revenant is basically someone who has returned from the dead. And that word kind of encompasses some of the things that I try to teach with the brave never fall to people. And I try to coach them through things with the mindset of letting the past die in a certain sense, but not forgetting what the past had in store for you, what you could have ended up as had you continued on that path before you let it die. Allowing things to go away, allowing things to take its natural course, and you acknowledge the fact that there are things that are infinite, but there are things that are finite. There are things that are going to have its own storyline from beginning, middle to end. It's going to wrap itself up nicely, just like a film, and it's going to go away. Just like any book, you can go back and reread it. You can go back and rewatch the movie. But once it's over, it's over. That it's its own story, and you can't change it. It's done. Unlike a book or a movie, in our brains, in our minds, in our hearts, our bodies, and our souls, we can change certain aspects of our past by how we interpret them. I often teach with the Brave Never Fall that those stories that play in your head, whether they're good or bad in your past as memories, you can insert yourself into those moments and recreate whatever version of that story you would like it to be. If there was a massive failure in your past, you can now in your mind internalize and visualize yourself not having that failure and how you would have made it a success. You would have put yourself in a relationship and figured out the things you did wrong to fix it, to make that relationship work. You can't change it now, but you can certainly go back in your mind and pick out all the moments, those significant moments that made you the person you are today, and change some aspects of it. Unfortunately, if you do these things and you learn nothing from them, then you're wasting the exercise. The whole point of the exercise is for you to, in moments where you're feeling down, you're feeling like you don't have any light at the end of the tunnel, there's no hope, there's nothing. You feel like you're absolutely lost in your own mind, and you're entrapped in your own body, and you're imprisoned with your emotions, and you just cannot get a firm grasp on your soul, and you cannot figure out what your purpose is in life. That just makes you a human being. It just makes you a person who has difficulty dealing with life, as we all do. Show me somebody who hasn't had difficulty in life, and I will show you a person who is not a human being. So you will, over time, understand, if you open yourself up to the possibility to reinvent yourself in the moment. I say that a lot in the Brave Never Fall, in the moment, because that's all you have. You're only in control of the moment you are currently in. Everything I just said is gone. I cannot take it back. I can re-record it, but the initial statement that I said during that time period is gone. I cannot go back and reclaim time. Therefore, every word that you speak, every thought that you have, every feeling that you have in your heart, every time you feel lost spiritually or don't have a purpose, those are moments lost and you will never get them back. How valuable is time to you? How valuable is each action you take to you? What is it worth? That can be only answered by you. Are you the type of person that rises to the occasion when things get tough, life gets dark? Or are you the type of person who sinks within themselves and drowns underneath the pressure and the weight of life? And we're not even talking about the aspects of life that are very unbearable. The loss of a life, the loss of a job, a house, things that you need to function properly in life for your lifestyle. We're talking about just you, stripped away of all the material things in life, stripped away of all the relationships you could encounter in life, all of the built-in purpose so far as finding a job and making sure you have a working automobile, things like that. Who are you? Where have you come from? Have you risen to the occasion, coming out of the flames and the ashes of all the trials and tribulations that you've had already thus far in life? And what are your plans in the future when you re-encounter some of these things that are going to inevitably show their faces again and rear their ugly heads? How prepared are you for a very, very hard day? Those days that are going to come where you're not prepared for, or you're not expecting, I should say, for certain hardships to happen. Are you prepared for them? True strength is trying to find the will and the desire to focus on something that is not always a cupcake. Our minds want to drift to comfortable things. They want to drift to the dessert and skip right over the meat and potatoes. And I think that is not a good thing when it comes to certain people. There are certain people who thrive off of getting straight to whatever it is they want. They want the dessert, so they would skip the entree. They would skip the appetizer. They would skip the drinks. They just want the dessert. They want the sweet part of life for them. If they can do it and still have a good head on their shoulders, I applaud them. Give them a trophy. But there's a lot of people out there who don't do that, who have to take the necessary steps to get through the dinner service. So for me, I'm one of those people. I don't want to skip straight to the cupcake. I'm losing something. There were other things that I may not have to eat, but I want to see what they are. If I skip straight to the cupcake and I skip the drinks, the appetizer, and the entree, there were possibilities there for me to not only fill myself with better options, because obviously if I'm going to get meat and potatoes, that's much better than me skipping straight to the dessert, whatever that is. I want to explore all the possibilities, and I'll pick and choose what I want to eat. I may just want the protein, and that's it. But if I skip right over it, I'm robbing myself of the opportunity to have something that may be better for me than what I was initially aiming for. How does this tie into Revenant, Rising from the Dead? It ties into this. At each moment, you're dying. As we speak, you are dying. Your parents are dying. Your friends are dying. Your dog's dying. Your cat's dying. If it has a heartbeat and it breathes on this earth, it's dying. That's why thriving in life is so much more important than surviving in it. Because you do have a limited time on in this plane we call Earth. Now, we don't have any idea what's going to happen after we transcend the human body. I believe we will go on. There's a reason why we have a soul. I think there is something beyond this that we will enter and move on to the next journey of our lives that is not a physical form right here. Or who knows, we may be in an endless loop and you fade to black when you die and you open your eyes again and you won't realize it, but you start your life over again. It just starts over and over and over again. Who knows, right? I used to think about that all the time, and it was just, in certain ways, it was an exercise in futility, because it is depressing to think about that there could either be more going on or eternal darkness. We can't control that right now. What we can control is what we do in the moment. And since we are dying each moment, the moment you were born, you started dying. The moment becomes much more framed in reality when you think of it like that. Every single little piece of information you get in this world is valuable when you think about your life in that frame. When you think about all of the disappointments and failures and unsuccessful attempts you had at things that you wanted in life and you didn't get them and you gave up, that person who went through that is dead. There are versions of you that you left behind that had potential. Think about that. There are versions of you in the past that you left behind that had potential, and you gave up on that version of yourself. It could have been as early as elementary school or college, in your 40s, 50s, 70s. It doesn't matter. The point is, you have more choices in life, more opportunities and different versions of yourself than you could ever imagine. It's almost unimaginable if you think about all the choices you can make in each moment of your life. How many different versions of you there are, because each version made a choice. Every day you make a choice. Each day there's a new version of yourself. That's why we are looking for the best version of ourselves. One day you will meet as close to the best version of yourself as you possibly could be in life. And then you will still keep on moving. On to the next version. But you just think about that. Of all those versions of you in the past that had hope and just believed so heavily in themselves, especially as young adults and as children, we don't know the hardships of life until they hit us. We don't know what we don't know at that time. So when you're back, if you could put yourself back into that type of mindset and back into your body, and you just think about some of the things you thought about before life started beating you to shit, that version of you existed. That version of you that had hope, that believed in themselves, that had self-love, even though probably unaware of what self-love was at the time. You might have had everything and lost everything. You know, people who go through bankruptcy think about this all the time. And people who had family members who are no longer with them, it's hard to put yourself back in those time periods where you had certain people in your life that you loved and now they're gone. You had the perfect job and something happened and you could no longer sustain that job. You fell ill with cancer. You went to war and now you're an amputee. You had a child and lost them in childbirth. We can go on and on and on with these very dark things that when you look back on it, it's almost like that's a different person who went through those things. I know I did. I have several moments in my life where I look back at it, and if I was to go back and meet my younger self, I don't even think I would recognize myself. I may say that person looks very similar to me, but to actually talk and have a conversation, I would have been freaked out about how I am now based on what I was back then. And I think about this all the time, and it's the equivalent of if you could go back and change anything and with forward momentum, take some of that hope and desire. We're talking about the good moments here. Set aside the bad for a second. Let's just talk about the positive aspects of being right on the cusp of starting to experience life. Back when you had true hope and belief in yourself and things were great and you had, because time is brutal. It'll remind you all the time that you don't have a lot of time to get very big things done. And that's just not true. When you're young, you have all the time in the world. Go back to that time. Soak up some of that energy you had back then. Bring it into who you are now and use it. That's a revenant for me. That's how I use it with The Brave Never Fall. When you're a person who is reinventing themselves, you're recreating who you are as an individual, and you're choosing to go on a positive path forward, and you restore hope back into your life. You restore that childlike wonder of, I can do anything. You don't have to tell people these things. These are your thoughts. These are your feelings. It's your memories. It's your past. It's things that you want to correct on the course of life for yourself. Owes no explanation to anyone other than yourself. You don't owe anyone anything. The most important thing you can do in life is be true to yourself first. Then without even speaking, it will ooze out of you and other people will see it without you saying a word. Therefore, proving something to other people about who you are and what your intentions are and where you come from is irrelevant. People can see in the moment who you are, what you've overcome. That's your essence of life and your presence. Through your presence, people will see your essence. No matter how good or bad it is, people will see it. We're all connected in this world. We all have a general feeling of what other people are doing. Some people just don't care, but if you choose to take a look at it, the revelation of what people are doing around you and who they are is very, very obvious. And it's even more obvious if you choose to talk to these people and really get to understand what's going on behind their eyes, I should say. In that head. What's going on in that head? Where are these people mentally? How strong are their hearts? The feeling of overcoming something that you never thought you could overcome, especially if you're coming out of darkness, does feel as if you are born again. You have given a fresh new start, and it's even greater when you chose to do these things for yourself. Before the tides come in that wash you ashore and just beat the hell out of you, and then all of a sudden you realize you're forced to change. You're forcing that change yourself way ahead of the curve. You're not worried about that tide that's going to wash you away, that big tsunami that's going to come in and wash you away and just kind of clear the decks for you. And then you stand up and you're like, what the hell was that? Now I'm forced to change and adapt to all this stuff that just happened to me. You can be preemptive with this stuff. You can take the opportunity and be assertive with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm going to overcome the greatest obstacle in my life. And that's that person looking at you in the mirror, which is you. There's your greatest enemy, if you want it to be, or it can be your greatest ally. When I look in the mirror, I want to see my best friend. I want to see somebody who has my back. I want to see somebody who's not going to let me down. And when I start trying to fold like a cheap tent, I want somebody who has the equivalent of eyes in the back of my head, who's going to see that big boulder that's going to hit me in the back of the head way before I see it. And if they don't see it and I get hit anyway, I have an ally. I'm strong. I need to be able to know that I am strong. Mirror or no mirror, I want to feel in my heart when a situation arises, I'm going to stand up and be ready for the challenge. And I'm going to exceed my expectations. I'm going to be the exception to my own rule. I'm going to shock myself. When I finish a race as a marathon runner, I don't care if anybody else cares that I finished the race. I want to shock myself. I want to finish the race and be in awe of what I did because I never thought I could do it. And the only way I can really frame that, is by knowing where I came from. I know the person in the past version of myself wouldn't have been healthy enough to do it, wouldn't have had the mindset to do it, wouldn't have had the heart to do it, and definitely wouldn't have had the soul to do what I'm doing now physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually right now. This version of me only exists because of what I went through in the past that was a failure. Not all the things that I had that was always a winning scenario. Victories don't always lead to positive things. There's some people who get too many victories too early in life, and now they're lost because they have no idea how they obtain them. They didn't have the right tools in place to really put it in proper perspective of what happened. It came way too fast with all the failures and life lessons that accompany a lot of people who take the long journey. These people got to the dessert and skipped the meat and potatoes, the entrees, the appetizers, the drinks. They missed everything. They just got the dessert. And they're not satisfied. They're still hungry. Tasted great, but they're still hungry. They've missed a whole portion of the service of that time period. And sometimes, as I did, because I went through that too, there were certain things that happened to me a little too early in life. And had they happened maybe 5-10 years later after I've went through some more hardships and hardened up mentally, I would have been able to overcome a lot more things far easier. But I'm glad that it didn't happen that way. Because the whole Revenant ideal means I was reborn into this person I am now, and I am very grateful for it. Now, there may be other versions of myself that say differently because our paths all branch out, even with ourselves. You know, every choice you make, there was another choice you could have made and probably did make. And that, like, if you believe in that kind of thing, different dimensions and different parallel universes and things like that. But this version that I'm conscious and aware of now is happy that all that happened the way it did. And one thing that I can always do, especially if you make mistakes, is that the power of forgiveness helps a long way with becoming a person who can make mistakes, and you know you're going to forgive yourself first. But if you hurt anyone along the way, you have the opportunity to go back and show these people that you've changed. that you're aware of the mistakes you made, because life is really hard that way. Unfortunately, when our lives are out of control, we have the tendency as human beings to drag other people down with us, or we hurt other people through our actions and our words. We're disappointed, others must be disappointed. We failed, others must fail. You don't understand what I'm going through, you don't care about me, goodbye. You don't think I'm that valuable of a worker, I quit. I'm not a good enough spouse for you, let's get a divorce. These things happen all the time. And a lot of it comes from failures and situational things that will determine whether or not a true bond with the things you think you really want in life, they'll be exposed at that point. Because when you really, really want something, you can go back and do something like, hey, will you forgive me for what I did? I value you. I made a huge mistake and I want another shot. And that could be with anything. It could be with your job, spouse, it can be friends, whatever. It can be with yourself as well. If you did all these things in the past, you have to forgive yourself and start moving forward. Reinvent yourself. That person is dead and they're gone. You can come back from the dead. You can come back from this. I've felt it myself. When I think about the person I used to be, it does feel like someone died. I don't know who that person was. And it's really weird because in a way, when I think back on them, it's really no different than when I think about my father who died when I was 14. I have almost the same feelings for my own self as I did for my father. It's like somebody that I used to know who's gone. And that's just a former self, a former version of myself. When I look back at the person I was, it scares the hell out of me that for a long time, I was justifying every single negative thing that I was doing. For a long time, I believed every single thing I was doing was right. And it doesn't matter if someone tells you this is the right journey you should have, or this is the wrong journey you should have. It's your journey, it's your path. If you're content with where you are, that's fine. If you listen to this, you probably won't. If you're still listening to this after this opener, you're probably wondering and thinking about the things you did in your past and what are the things you could have changed and what are the things you're going to change. And unfortunately, we have inevitable things that are going to happen to us in our life that are going to shape and mold us even further. And we have no idea what that's going to be. Again, you can't really plan for cancer or being amputated or a loss of a child or divorce. It's just really hard. You just don't know the people you're going to meet. You don't know the places you're going to meet. You don't know the job opportunities. You can create a lot of situational things that put you in place. But ultimately, especially when you're dealing with people, a lot of that decision-making process you have for reinventing yourself is going to be entrusted to someone else. But that's the part of it that makes it so great when you're self-aware of who you are and what your purpose is, because your communication with these people will be right up front. You're going to take it slow with these people. You're going to let them know, this is the type of person that I am. This is the person I would like to be. I'm on a certain path, and there's a certain type of person that I would like, or people that I would like to have on my path with me. And there's certain landmarks I would like to hit. Those are my flags of hope. If I get a little off course, cool. I can always get off course to help somebody real quick. As long as I can keep my path in sight, I can go back over. The things that are important to me will stay. The things that are not of value and are toxic will go. And you can be upfront with people when it comes to that. Your intent is very important. Everyone's timeline is different. It's hard to get in sync with everything and everyone in your life. Which is why if you just focus on yourself, you will find that being in sync with everyone else is really not all that important. What you have to do is get in sync with yourself through self-discipline and self-love. You'll find your wavelength and where it fits in with other people's wavelengths. They'll never lock up completely the same. People are too different. You start with positivity, though. Start with all the stuff that's good about yourself. Those are the tools that you're going to need to kind of build upon what you want to build upon. Because if you're quote unquote coming back from the dead, you're going to naturally go towards the negative, which you're going to have to address the negative. You're going to have to figure out why'd you die in the first place. And if you don't want to do it again, you're going to have to figure it out. But it's healthy. It's balanced healthiness to also not forget all the good things that were about that you were before the quote unquote death, before the Revenant. You don't want to forget those things either. When people change, they often they focus way too much on the negative, way too much. And they forget about all the positive things that they had. You had positives in there too. You couldn't have been all negative, or you would have destroyed yourself a lot sooner than you did. What are the positives that were in there that you're not taking advantage of? What are the positives that you have that have potential to be great? Are you giving yourself the opportunity to do something great? Are you just living in the world of feeling sorry for yourself and allowing stress and anxiety and depression rule your life? Which I know exactly how that feel. I went through that for almost 20 years. And I know the cycle that it could be. You have these ups and downs, but you too often focus on the negative. You're waiting for something to happen to you instead of going out and being assertive and creating something to happen to you. You're giving up way too fast when you want something. You put a little effort into it and something doesn't go right and you throw your hands in the air and you give up. That's not a true test of a human being when you do that. You're supposed to overcome things in life. There was no flyers handed out to you as a baby that says things are going to be easy. Just show up to this little fan club every Saturday. We'll make sure everything's easy for you. And then you feel like you lost your flyer and now you're lost. It doesn't work like that. From the time you were born, you were meant to overcome something. The whole 9-month pregnancy is overcoming. Your mother was overcoming something the whole time you were being nurtured in the womb. Your whole life from very beginning was based on struggle. It was a struggle to get you out of your mother's body. It was a struggle to take care of you as a baby. When you think about things like that, you have to understand all those things are for a reason. Life is about struggle. It's about overcoming and passing all the milestones. Staying healthy as you can. Staying strong. Being aware. Increasing knowledge. Being aware of your purpose. Too easily, these things are forgotten by people. Far too easily. It's so easy to withdraw back within yourself to all the comfortable things that you've done a million times in the past, and you forget about all the failures you had just because in the moment you want to revert back to being comfortable, or you want to revert back to blame. You want to revert back to hatred, bad decision making. The decision to change has to be just that, a change. There is no going back when you make that final decision. That's what self-discipline is all about. If you're prepared to change something in your life, the act and the will to change has to be there forever. They can never go away. Once you're reborn and you've remade yourself and you've made the commitment to change of yourself, true change, meaning you're not going to recognize yourself in a few years. In whatever capacity that is, what goals you set for yourself. However high you're going to raise that bar. There is no going back if you commit to it. Otherwise, you're going to go a little bit and fall back. Go a little bit and fall back. And what is that? That's that same pattern that caused you to get to the point where you felt like you weren't living at all to begin with. That's the same mentality that would prevent you from thriving in life and just simply scraping by and surviving. How many excuses are you going to make for yourself before you realize that that method is not working for you, or you wouldn't care whether or not life was hurting you? You would just keep doing the negative stuff and get by, and you'd be content with being not content, and that would be that. But I'm sure it's bugging you that you know there are things that you need to change and you're just not doing them. that is a disappointment. That is a failure of who you are. You owe it to yourself more and more each day, each moment, because you're not getting those moments back. Each time you do something that you know you could have done better and you chose not to, that's a moment you're not going to get back. And I go through it just like anyone else. Nobody's perfect. We all have moments where we drop the ball. I do it multiple times a day. The only difference between me and a lot of people that I talk to is that I try not to make those same mistakes twice or at all. And it takes a long time to drill that into your head to get to a point where you're not wasting your own time as a human being. And as we move into intermission, remember, everything and everyone in this world is connected. How much does a fresh start mean to you? What if somebody told you you can wipe the slate clean and just start over? I used to think about that all the time. What if I just started over? How would that work? What would that look like? How would I set the pieces in motion just to start this game over? I just got in over my head with life. I let too many things pile up. I'm just in this loop, and people expect this of me, and to change this would mean this person would probably have to go away, and this job would have to change, and I would have to do this and that. That decision that I made to just say, you know what, I'm going to start over. That word revenant, again, I'm going to come back from the dead. I'm going to bury this dude who I did not like. He's done. Goodbye. When I made that decision, with both external things forced in my hand to make the decision, but me more so internally on my end, superseding all the external stuff and saying, it doesn't matter that you're there. I know you're trying to change me, and there's some things that I need you to help me push the envelope a little bit, but I'm ultimately making this decision for myself to change. And when I mean I set myself up for a new beginning, I did just that. I erased myself basically from everything and everyone who was around me, and I just started over. I purposely started over a new job. I got a new vehicle. I dove heavily into Tao against the better wishes of some of the people who were around me who didn't understand what that was. And I dropped every single one of my friends, all my family members who were toxic. I was in a divorce. I was completely free for the first time in my life with a clean, fresh start. And it was great because then I honestly felt like a blank canvas. Yeah, I had it's not an endless canvas. There's corners and things you have to work around. But I felt like, okay, now I can just start. Nobody cares what I'm doing now at this point. There's no expectations. I don't have to go out with anyone. I don't have to spend unnecessary money on these people. Or I don't have to show up to work for these people just because they want me to. I can just start over fresh, new person. Here we go. And that was my mindset. Revenant. Straight up revenant. I came back from the dead as a new person. And I started with the person I wanted to be. I knew, okay, we are going to base everything around nailing all the things in your life, one thing at a time, a focal point at a time. One aspect of you is going to change one at a time. And we're just going to layer this out. We're going to go through the whole meal course, starting with the drinks. And I can tell you right now, I'm still on the drinks. We ain't even gotten to the appetizer yet. I ain't even picked up the menu. This is a slow process. Right now, I'm in the water phase. I'm just trying to flow and find my natural purpose in life. And I'm just taking it all in for what it's worth. I haven't even kicked it in the high gear yet. The whole point of it is that you want to get to a place where you have a foundation. Blank canvas, one brick at a time wall. You're going to try to build something. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life, was just to step back away from myself and start over. Is that easy to do? No, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life, was to start over. Because you know what that comes with. I mean, you can't, even though starting over doesn't mean you just go to Alaska in the wilderness and just do your own thing. I still had to face people with memories, shared memories that we had. I still had to face all my demons. I still had to look myself in the mirror. Starting over doesn't mean you get to just restart your brain and you have no recollection of anything that happened to you prior to that restart. You still have all this baggage. Now, what are you going to do with it? It's still your body. It's still your mind. It's still your heart. You still have to do something with this stuff. So how are you going to change it? That moment that you choose to change, that moment is part of the revenant. Who cares where you get and how long it's going to take? You're going to start over in the moment and say, this is a fresh moment. I don't care about everything that's going to happen in the past. I'm going to pick from it what I need when I need it. But right now, I'm going to start my new path, and I'm going to start it fresh, and I'm going to make all the right decisions I possibly can make. No more negativity. No more excuses. No more being afraid. We're going to think big. But we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep pushing forward with momentum. We're going to be brave and bold. Free but connected. That was the mindset. We're going to do things that are going to make us uncomfortable. We're going to harden his mind up, and we're going to fill it with as much knowledge as possible. We're going to understand emotions. We're going to understand how the human mind and body works. We're going to dive deeper into who we are and what our purpose is through finding some type of spirituality. And we're going to make sure that our body is in the best physical condition possible to live the longest life possible. So the people who love me gets to have me for as long as they possibly can have me if I can help it. If it's negative, it's gone. When I make mistakes, I make adjustments immediately. If someone's toxic, they're gone. There is no such thing as failure if I keep moving forward. So I don't care about failing anymore. Failure, who cares? Hit me as much as you want, failure, because you're going to teach me something every single time you hit me. Every situation that's negative that hits me, I'm going to learn something from it, and I'm going to flip it and make it a positive. I'm going to help as many people as I possibly can, because these are the people who are going to, in turn, help me when I need help. When I inevitably need help, I'm going to be the best person I can be. But hopefully I won't need help from people because I want to self-sustain myself. I don't want to rely on other people for my happiness. I don't want to rely on other people for my preservation in this world and how I thrive in this world. I want it to be solely on me. If I can make it about me first, then I'm in a much better position to be even more happy than I ever dreamed of. Because if I can make myself happy and I can fill myself with self-love and self-discipline and positivity, then I don't need anyone else. I don't need anyone else. Great if they're here. But if they're toxic, manipulative, narcissistic, selfish people, then I don't want them around anyway. I'm going to attract positive people. The negative people won't even waste their time with me. That's the whole point of it. I want to do things in life that I never thought I would be able to do. So that means taking on challenges that used to scare me. Things that if I say in my brain, I don't think I can do that, then I go and try and do it now. You try to get small victories every moment. You wake up with a small victory, you go to bed having earned your rest. Earn your naps. Earn your free time. It's so much sweeter. It's like the jalapeno on food. When you've earned your free time, it's so much better. It's so much better. You truly feel free when you do that because your mind honestly gets to rest and it doesn't have to play games with you saying, well, tomorrow we can do better. Your mind doesn't do that when you've earned your rest. You can say, oh, this feels great. I've earned this, and you just dive into it. Or you can use that time to reflect, which is another great thing about life, is that because time is relative to different people, you can stop time in certain ways and just kind of live in a moment. Recollect your thoughts and regather yourself when those moments start to unravel for you, when you start feeling like things are about to snowball out of control and there's a decision you need to make and you don't want to make it too fast. When people are pushing you to go faster like a locomotive and you're just trying to say, well, let's just slow down here and see where the tracks take us. We have GPS. Let's take a look at this before we get too far ahead. People in this world now are just moving 100 miles per hour all the time. That's not always a good thing. It is in certain cases. You want to be able to know that you can move that fast to keep up with everyone when you need to be. But you don't want to always just be going 100 miles per hour. You want to slow down and enjoy and explore other people, situations, moments, stretching moments. And that's what life's about. Stretching the beautiful moments and earning those beautiful moments. The only way you can really get there is that you have to be in a place of peace. And you can get peace before you have all the rest of it figured out. I haven't had my whole life figured out. I am not the best version of myself that I would like to be. But I'm at peace with myself because I know I'm going to get there now. There's no question in my mind There's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to get there. So I'm at peace. I know the things I need to work on. I know that I can make adjustments. I know that I'm challenging myself. I'm hardening myself. And I'm okay with being alone if I have to be. I'm not alone. I don't feel I ever will be with this mindset. But there are times where I do want to be alone. I need to be alone. I need to figure out what's going on in this brain of mine, in my heart, and my soul. You become a very special individual when you start looking at your life as something great, which it is. Something beautiful and unique and special, which you are. You have to look at yourself like that, and you have to treat yourself like that, and you have to commit to that idea fully. What is the point of reinventing yourself if you're going to just kind of reinvent yourself? What is the point of restarting the game if you're just going to leave all the pieces where they were when you ended the last game? You have to restart, and you have to have a fresh start, a new perspective, and hopefully you're going to do better this time. And this Revenant thing doesn't mean it happens once and you're done. I reinvent myself all the time. I purposely do it. I know I can restart all the time. I get to a certain point and I say, I have done this. I have learned as much as I want in this section of whatever it is I'm learning to make my brain smarter. Time to wipe the slate clean. Let's start learning this over here now. I learned everything I could about the human body and mind. I'm still learning it, but it's not so much of a focal point as it was about a year ago. Now I'm onto other things. I'm just constantly trying to add on new things. I'm reinventing myself. The Revenant idea for me happens all the time. Probably every 3 or 4 months, I'm constantly reinventing myself. And I'm leaving that former version of myself behind because that person is now a shell of myself. I don't want to be the same person all the time. I want to constantly keep moving and challenging myself because I want to explore what I'm capable of doing in this world. I want to know how I respond to certain situations, certain places. I want to know how I fare against some of the people other people claim, quote unquote, to be super special and they do all these great things. And I think to myself, well, why can't I do those things? Because in the back of my mind, which a lot of people don't think about, it can all be gone in a flash. At any point in time, something could happen to me and it could change the course of my life forever. And you can get to a point where you don't remember anything good about yourself. Your mind will deteriorate on you. I worked with the Alzheimer's Association for a long time. It actually gave me a new perspective on life when I watched people with dementia, because I'm a dementia and Alzheimer's specialist. I saw these people, because I worked at a residential care facility this facility only specialized in people with Alzheimer's and dementia from all stages, from early onset to late stage. And I used to see the transformation from people coming in from early onset to late end stage and watch them pass away. And it was horrifying to the point where I couldn't even do that professionally any longer. I just cared about these people too much. To watch these people turn from these beautiful, beautiful human beings who were special and unique, had some of the most unique backgrounds you can think of. If I told you some of these people's backgrounds right now, it would shock you, just from unbelievably gifted people, all races, these people come from all walks of life. They all suffer from the same thing, the loss of their mind, which affected their emotions. They lost their reality. They lost their soul. They lost who they were. They don't know who they are anymore. Their family members come in. They try everything that they could to get them to remember certain things, try to remind them what they did, what they could still do if they could just remember this one thing. And it was depressing. And I will look at them and say, wow, that could happen to anyone. There was a lady in there who had her early onset at age 45. I'm 40 years old. And it's a rapid progression to end stage. Some of these people can die within 10 years. They lose every single bit of who they are. You look in these people's eyes and there's no soul. They're just a shell of themselves. Now, I used to often think if there was some miracle drug that can make these people become who they were again, that would be the ultimate definition of what a revenant is. coming back from the dead. These people are dead, walking around. It's a sad state of affairs when you think of it that way. And it put things in perspective for me right at the right time in my life, where I started realizing how valuable each moment was, how valuable relationships were, to the point where it actually made me afraid. I didn't learn the right things from that at that point in time. It made me feel as if time was running out and I needed to do every crazy thing I could think of. Everything that I wanted to do had to be fast tracked. Now we're back on this locomotive going 100 miles per hour. And I wanted to make sure that I got every single thing out of life crammed into this little bit of time. And it made me reckless, out of control, deceitful, manipulative, borderline narcissistic, I would say, to the point where I didn't feel like myself and I was sick and I needed some help. But I was aware enough to know that I could change at any moment. I just chose not to because I felt time was running out for me. My father died when I was 45 years old. So when I hit around 35 to age 40, I was thinking from 35 to 40, this might be the end of my life. Let's get crazy. And I did a lot of stupid stuff, made a lot of bad decisions. But there came a point in my life where I realized that's not you. Even if you only have 2 days left, make positive decisions. Be the best version of yourself possible. And it's because of my son, I started thinking of that as well. How do you want him to remember you? A reckless monster? Or do you want to be a person that he looks up to and says, that's my hero? No one will ever be a bigger hero to me than my dad. And I remember that's exactly what I wanted from my father. But he was no longer around. He was 45 years old and he was gone from not caring enough about his own life. He didn't take care of himself at all. Drank himself into a stupor. Never wanted to go to a doctor. Had a very hard life. Very smart, educated, creative man. Had 4 or 5 career opportunities he could have had he pursued them, but he chose not to because mentally he was deteriorating due to all sorts of things. Poor health, alcohol. Suddenly I found myself down the same path he was taking. And that's when I was thinking, when you go back into those memories and you start putting yourself in other people's shoes, I kind of put myself in my father's shoes. I'm like, what? If I was my dad, what are the things I would have changed so I could still be here to see my son? And that's how I started realizing that you can reinvent yourself. Because I'm thinking to myself, well, you are alive right now. Why don't you do those things? That's the power of the moment. And the power of knowing you can change who you are at any time without excuses. Just do it. Stop worrying about what's going to be coming through the fog, which you cannot see. It doesn't matter at this point. The point is you're making a positive choice. There's nothing negative about you wanting to change who you are for the better for yourself. As long as you're not hurting anyone, you're not having malicious, malevolent intent behind your decision to change into something that's going to be disastrous for other people. If you want to turn into something that's going to be disastrous just for yourself, that's your right to do that. But what is the problem with wiping the slate clean and saying, screaming it from the mountaintops, I choose to be different. I choose to be positive. I choose self-love. I choose self-discipline. I choose my purpose to be my focal point from now on. These flaws that I have, you guys are about to get your ass kicked. I'm going to fight you like you're the greatest battle alive. When I look into that mirror now, I want to see the person I want to see, not the person I wish I could be. You don't want luck involved with this. You don't wishing. These are things you can handle. The choice to say, okay, all the negative things in my life need to go away. You've already acquired a massive victory just right there with the mindset that you don't want negative things in your life. That is something that you refuse to keep in your life. That is a boundary. That was something I did. I chose no more negative stuff in my life. That's a boundary. If it's negative, it's gone. Period. I know it may be harsh to some people, but I'm not doing it. I value and love myself too much to have negative things in my life holding me back from my goals and aspirations and my true purpose in life. And if the people who truly love me and understand me understand that's where I'm coming from, they'll be in my life. If they're toxic, negative people, don't bother with me. Just walk away, because I will not invite you in. And I wouldn't expect anyone to invite me in if I was toxic. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to change, because I was a toxic person. I know what it feels like to try to crowd into someone's life and you're completely toxic. Not holding yourself accountable for your actions. Expecting people to forgive you for things and you're not forgiving them for shit. I understand that. Part of the human existence is making mistakes, though. Part of the human existence is taking someone by the hand who's been there for you if you've been hurting them and saying, hey, I am not only changing for me, it's going to start with me, but I'm also going to show you and be there for you as the person you deserve to have in your life. A positive person who's going to correct all those wrongs that they caused you. You're going to go into work now with a new mindset of, I'm not going to shortchange these days. I may not love my job, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to work this job really hard, because I know I can move up now with the right work ethic. I can learn more, I can gain more trust, I can make more money by being a more positive person and productive worker. The more knowledge you get in your head, you're going to inevitably become smarter, and you're going to be able to use that knowledge to help other people. Not only yourself, but to help other people. Getting selfishness out of your heart is a huge step, because that's a huge disconnect. There's a great divide between being selfish and self-love. Self-love does not mean you're selfish. I too often get called that by people. You're being selfish because you don't let this person into your life. I'm like, that person is toxic and they are aware of it. We're not talking about little children here who need guidance. We're talking about grown adults who are choosing to manipulate people, who are walking life with true selfishness, who expect everything and don't want to give anything in return. Those are the people who are trying to drag you down because they can see you have the opportunity to do something they don't, because they don't have the mindset you have. Those are the people you have to avoid. What place do they play in your story if they're going to be negative? I want to fill as many memories now with positive ones on my end. The memories I can create for myself, I want them to be positive. The memories I have with things that are external and people are making decisions that are negative, I am forced to deal with those. But the ones that I create for myself will be positive. They'll be filled with purpose, not regret. Even the ones that I fail at, those memories that I failed, they will be memories that I know I was in the moment reaching for something bigger than just that moment. Something positive. I failed, but I didn't hurt anyone doing it. I learned something, I gained something. So those are good memories. Even the failures are good memories. That's the place you want to be. This whole Revenant thing is all about that. It's about not only coming out from being a quote unquote dead zombie walking in this world, but it's about becoming a person that you would love to be. If you were someone else and you can meet yourself, you'd say, this is a great person. I recommend this person in someone else's life. This is a good model for someone to base their lives on, or maybe show someone they know, a young adult or a child, or even a grown adult who's a little bit lost. Talk to this person. This person has been there. It's not just words and talk with this person. This person has walked and talked, and he's been a toxic person. He's been a failure. He's been a negative person. He's been a disaster. He's tried to pull other people down. He became aware and he changed his life, and he's not making excuses for it. He doesn't expect anyone to understand, or she doesn't expect anyone to understand. They're showing through their actions that there's something that we also love as a human being. That's called redemption. Redemption is powerful. Everyone loves a good comeback story. We do it all the time. We praise people who have fallen down and they've come back into society, and now they're productive and they're reaching their dreams. That's what you should expect of yourself when you choose to make a change. for the better for yourself. You have to have that revenant mindset sometimes where you just say, this person is dead and gone. I'm going to be something new. I'm going to be something powerful. I'm going to embrace the fact that I'm unique. I'm going to challenge myself because I'm special enough to know I can get through anything. Whether I created myself or it's coming at me as some external force, or somebody's trying to come at me with a negative, toxic mindset that they display every day and they walk their path with. They're not going to darken my day by being this negative person. I have enough strength in myself, enough wisdom, and I have enough passion in my heart, and I believe in myself and my purpose in this world through my soul. I can get through anything now. And it doesn't matter if you haven't been there before. You're there now, in the moment. The old you is gone. You feel that? That's another moment gone. That person's gone. They're not coming back. You are in the moment now. Any choice you make now can lead you through positive momentum towards something greater for yourself. It's just a choice. That's all it is. It's just a choice, a positive one made through self-love and self-discipline for yourself and those you care about around you. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.